And this guy who was a squad leader, his name was Rich Champion, went up, lost one guy, got 2 guys hit, came back down. First sergeant came over and said, get another squad together, you're going back up. And Rich Champion kind of gave him a little bit of an argument, saying, listen, you know, they're dug in up there. I can't do it with just a squad. There, you know, I mean, there's just too many up there. And this is one of the, as I said, one of the few times we actually had a sit-down type fight. And this top kick that we had was an a-hole. And he pulls his .45 on Rich Champion and says, you are going up there. And next thing you know, you hear about 15 guns go chick.
Yeah.
And the first sergeant looks around, and now there's 15 guns pointed at him. And Champion says, listen, I'll go back up there. You want me to go back up there? I'll go back up there. But I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to lose more men if I go back up there. And this time they went back up there, but they went back up close enough to fire a couple of shots and request ground fire. And they were firing from the 105s were firing, but they weren't taking them out. So eventually they got a couple of Cobras to come in and hit the hill, and that basically did it. But I found out about 2 weeks later they abandoned that fire base. But, you know, military intelligence, what can you do?
So typically if you called for air support, was it mostly helicopter?
We never got anything but helicopter support.
Right.
We never got jets, we never got P-38s, we didn't get anything. It was always helicopter gunship. And most of the time it was Cobra.
Right. So you had mentioned the unique uses for C4 explosives. Other than its intended purpose.
Yeah, other than its intended purposes. They used to get mad at us because whenever we needed C4, nobody had any. And everybody was given at least one. You're supposed to carry at least 1 pound of C4. Let me explain this, that carrying a pound of C4 explosive is not necessarily dangerous, because it needs another explosion to set it off. It needs a detonator to set it off. It could be hit with a bullet, nothing's going to happen. But the thing about C4 is, if you broke it, it was plastic explosives, and if you broke it and made a ball about the size of a good Aggie, you know, the big marbles, you know what I mean, and put a match to it, it burned. And it burned very hot. Great for cooking. Great for heating up a canteen cup full of hot water for coffee.
Right.
Great for heating your C rations. The only thing is you don't stomp on it to put it out. It needs compression.
Yeah. So
as long as it just burns out. And they used to get hugely mad at us. I'm trying hard not to swear here. You know, talking about military type things, you tend to want to use the vernacular. They used to get really ripped at us because, you know, something would happen. They need some C4. Hey, got any C4? No, I'm all out. How about you? No, I ain't got any either. How about you? No, what? Doesn't anybody have any? What are you doing with the C4?
Leave me alone. I'm baking brownies.
Yeah, exactly. For clearing LZs, for clearing landing zones, we had det cord.
Right.
Okay, and det cord is basically fusing for explosives, but it burns so fast, it burns like 32,000 feet a second, that it's an explosion. So if you wrap 3 or 4 wraps of det cord around a tree and set it off, it's going to blow the tree and drop it.
Right.
So, you know, or if we did do that, we blew down trees with Laws rockets before because we didn't have any C4 left. Yeah, they'd get mad at us for using the C4 for cooking.
Did you ever witness any B-52 strikes?
From a distance, from a long distance. And we had to be well over 10 miles away, probably a lot further than that. And the ground still shook and the sky still lit up. And those 1,000-pounders they were dropping, just, I mean, it's amazing. I mean, it's like somebody got a fireworks display going off 100 yards down the road, you know what I mean? I mean, it's just hard to explain unless you're there. We came across an area that had been B-52, you know, struck by a B-52, and you're walking through the jungle, and all of a sudden there's this big hole in the ground, and we loved it because those holes would fill up with water. And it was a place to take a bath. All right, so you had this big, huge pothole filled with clear water, and you could get in there and take a bath. And I mean, clear hole, I mean, I'm talking from here to the other side of the studio. I mean, this huge crater.
Which for the folks at home is a considerable distance.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking 20 yards across.
Maybe a backyard above ground pool.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so the other thing that was amazing to watch were the Puff the Magic Dragon gunships. Right. Which were the C-51s, was it?
Which was typically C-47.
7s with 50 caliber miniguns, guns mounted amidshift in them on both sides.
Right.
And when they let loose, didn't sound like a machine gun. It sounded like a huge burp. Just a burp. Yep. And a solid red line came out of that aircraft.
Tracers.
And those are tracers every 5th round.
Right.
And it's a solid red line coming out of it.
They would typically let them go at 3,000 rounds per minute.
Yep.
But they were capable of 6,000 rounds per minute.
Yep. But it was amazing. And you get 3 of those firing off of one side. It's 3, look like laser beams coming out of that side of that C-47. Absolutely amazing. You know, when I was there talking about medevacs, I'm going to change the subject, sorry. I just thought of something. I was walking point one time, and we were cutting through what we called elephant grass. And elephant grass was like really tall, above your head, and razor sharp. And walking point, I got all cut up trying to chop through this stuff, my arms and everything. And that developed into jungle rot, which developed into cellulitis, and they shipped me back to base camp.
Now, typically when someone says jungle rot, you think of your feet.
Yeah, well, no, jungle rot, it's a fungus, it's a fungal infection. It can, anywhere there's open sores, it can set in.
Right.
You know, okay. So jungle rot just isn't in, you know, you're talking trench foot, that type of thing.
Sure.
But jungle rot can happen anywhere. And stupid me, let it go, and I ended up cellulitis, which was these big things under the skin almost. I don't know how to explain it, but it was outrageously painful. Remember going to the bird to fly me back to base camp to take care of it. I bumped my elbow lightly against a tree, and I went down to my knees in pain. It was just very painful.
And that concludes segment 3 of my interview with Rick Schultz and his experiences during the Vietnam War. Please join me again for segment number 4. And remember, we're all living history right now.